Matthews is front and center on everything here. And, whether or not he had his voice heard, I wouldn't be surprised. Chaika said no. Like Chaika said definitively, no, zero. He had nothing to do with this. Maybe it was more indirectly.
Right.
This is where you look at Matthews and the way that was utilized with Berube, which I understand Berube's approach. Like his approach was, we need to play like Florida, like St. Louis in 19, and it wasn't the right horse for the course, or the horses for courses just weren't there for them.
Right.
But you look at Matthews, and the amount of times he'd start in his own end, the amount of matchups he'd have where it was tough on tough for best player on best player. Like Berube was putting him in different positions, and I don't know if it worked.
Using him more like Barkov as opposed
exactly.
to an offensive.
And I would not be surprised if the next coach, if the objective is we got to treat him like an offensive dynamo, and
like Sheldon Keefe did.
Maybe, and I get that didn't lead to a Stanley Cup. I'm not arguing against that,
Dude,
but it doesn't mean it's not the right play for right now, or you got to try something.
I get
different.
it. If you want to move forward and try something that's already been cycled through before, go ahead and do it.
So
with these guys.
what would you suggest they do then?
Well,
what do you think,
Brian? I think you're misunderstanding. I get it. They want to make a change, but what they're doing, it's already the third time through. That's the only thing. It's been 10 years. So now you're on a second cycle of getting a different voice. So go ahead and do it. I get it. You got to do it. All I'm saying is we're talking about a group of players that are going to be on their third or fourth cycle. Mike Babcock, Sheldon Keefe, Craig Berube, and now it's reverting back to another one. How many group of players get that opportunity to cycle through a different philosophy where you actually look at the players that go on the ice and say, maybe different players?
Hold on. Who's to say those players are coming back?
Then listen, Marner's not here anymore.
At this point, I don't even care if they come back. I really don't.
But hear me out. Because what you need is, if this is John Chaika's team, and it is now, he might have a completely different philosophy and say, what have we talked about? They might have 8 to 10 new faces on there. That's a different team. You might still have some of the same cast of characters. You're not flushing 20, but you might have a way different looking team next year. And that's going to have a new coach attached to it. So yes, you're going to have, if you bring back Matthews and Nylander, which they're under contract, and those are star players. Tavares is going to be there. I know what you're saying, but if everybody else has changed around that's a different team. That's not the same cast of characters.
I'd like to see it, Jamie, but we've already discussed the challenges that come to flipping out 8 different players.
And a couple more things on that. For starters, Marner's not here anymore, right? Like Marner, that is a massive piece that was here for 9 years that is not here anymore. A lot of the Shanahan era is been moving out. Berube's the last hire of the Shanahan era, right? Tree Living went out a month and a half ago. Yes, you have Matthews and Nylander and Tavares and Riley, who are still here. I can't imagine Morgan Riley's here in the fall. We'll see. But that's a pretty major hit as well. So if you move off a coach, a GM, Marner, and Riley within 18 months, that's pretty significant change. Who knows what is going to happen with Austin and with Willie in the future? And those are the two main pieces.
Right.
But I think what happened this year, and it was extreme, needs to be considered here. The issue these players had for 9 years was they were not clutch. They did not have the ability to make the biggest plays under the brightest lights.
Yep.
That was the issue with Babcock. That was the issue with Keefe. And then it turned out to be the issue with Berube last year, where they got to all these Game 6s and all these Game 7s, and they all folded, and they didn't perform enough. It was a very thin margin we were talking about. Like, are you going to get a new coach to see if that guy can – and that's what Berube was supposed to represent. And unfortunately, he is on record as the coach of the worst meltdown of them all. Of all the meltdowns, Babcock, Keefe, and Berube, the worst of the worst is Game 7 at home against Florida last year. And nothing is even within the stratosphere of that. This year was a completely different evaluation of everything, because it wasn't about the thinnest margins. Can you win Game 7 against Florida or beat Boston in the Boston Garden? This was a complete meltdown. Like it was a completely different review, I would assume, from Chaika and company. because it wasn't about one piece or two pieces. Now you're talking about an organizational audit, effectively. And that's effectively what he said today. He said this is more of a big picture thing. Now, what that means for Matthews and Nylander, and let's be clear, those are the two guys we're really talking about. Like, those are the two best
Tavares
players.
is different now, right?
John
He's
is just in
now.
a different place. He's still got a loud voice there, and he's still, got a legacy that he owns, and he's a big part of that dressing room. But it's the captain, and then Nylander, the most offensive kind of player on the team, and the most mercurial player on the team is Nylander. And how are they going to react to the next wave of coaching? I don't know. I don't have that answer. Are they going to be here long term? I'm not sure. But this year in the meltdown is different than past meltdowns in terms of what the issue has been.
Yeah. And ultimately what it comes back to is today's world now, like it's what have you done for me lately? And that's the biggest thing. Like Bruce Cassidy won a cup, and the guy who was rock star coach. It's like Vegas is like, don't like what we're seeing, and we can't get rid of the players. So it's 8 games left. Torts, here you come. Like it's a cutthroat world right now. I mean, look at what the Islanders did. How many games left with that? With Pete DeBoer coming in? 4 games left, and they missed the playoffs. And they got a hell of a player there, but they wanted their coach, and that's Patrick Waugh getting let go.
Yeah.
Craig Berube gets let go. He won a cup. Patrick was a legendary coach and done a great job.
Maybe Patty Roy comes through town.
I don't know, man. It depends.
Why
this
not?
is the one.
Why
this
not?
is the one thing I would say is, and I'm being respectful here. Is it a desirable spot right now with where the organization is for a legacy coach, or is it better for a younger, up and coming Dan Muse, Manny Malhotra type of guy, a first time at it, where you've got a different team? Because I don't know how many legacy coaches. Certainly, you want the money, you want the Toronto
That's
market. That's
going to be the question, though, Noodles.
But it's different, man.
I agree with you, but Babcock came here because they paid him that money. Like that's why he came here. He didn't have some burning desire to coach in Toronto, in my opinion. They offered him more money than any coach in the history of the league had ever been offered. Right. So he jumped on it. And I guess that's the question. To answer your original question, putting money aside, no, I don't think it is. Right. I wouldn't say it's on top of the list. I would put Edmonton, if they get rid of Knobloch, higher than the Leafs, because you got McDavid and Draisaitl and Bouchard.
You're not 8 pieces away.
Right.
That's the difference.
But here you do have the first overall pick coming, which I would think would be enticing. The challenge of, it's the Toronto market. You get resources that you're not going to get elsewhere. It obviously would be the epitome of a resume builder if you can make it work here. But it takes a strong mentality to bring it on here in Toronto.
Don't you think the coach, like first and foremost, if I signed here, don't you think they would be like, I want a long-term deal? Because there might be a couple years.
Yes.
Might be a couple years of turning things around.
But I don't know if that's the case, though, Noodles. Like that's the thing. If they're trying to win next year, win again. I'm not saying Stanley.
They're trying to make the playoffs. You're right.
Try to make the playoffs next year. Then
so how many moves away? Like here's the other thing. You're in the Atlantic. You're not in the Pacific. Mm-hmm. So who are you knocking out? That's the thing. And just so you know, Florida's getting healthy. And Detroit's going to try and do exactly what the Leafs are doing in the offseason.
Hayes, let me ask you something.
Okay.
He's still fired up.
By the way, when I was taking a piss, the guy that honked his horn at me, I wish he rolled into the farm field and rolled over.
Oh, really?
Anyway.
Because I don't see it the same way. You want Craig Berube to be the coach for the next decade?
Dude, I'm trying to tell you, I don't care who gets hired or fired. Craig's a friend of mine, but he got fired. The team was terrible last year. But you totally missed the point on all of it.
I did.
What is
the
it?
point?
I got you too.
No, you missed the point on all of it.
Go ahead.
You talked about making we've seen it with Pittsburgh. Like they tried to claw into the playoffs year after year. They got dummied in the first round. What is the sense of doing that, in your opinion? To just make let's just get back into the playoffs and probably get slaughtered in the first round. So you tell me, what is the purpose of doing that? If you're trying to, if there's this long-term kind of thought process here, what is the sense in doing that?
I think the sense in doing this, Hulkster, is that you if you hire the right people and you build the program and you move forward with a process where you feel like – now I sound like Keith Pelly. Where you're aligned.
Yeah, you're horizontally and vertically aligning yourself, you dumbass. You are Pelly. Finkel is Einhorn, and you are Pelly.
Well, and what I'm saying is if you're building a program where you're anti-tank or if you're against the idea of just being awful all the time, this is the process you take. You try to hire the right GM. I don't know if Chaika is. We'll see. You try to hire a good coach, period. Not a coach to win one game or get you great for one season or a guy in 5 years that will build with a group.
But that instills the system.
Exactly.
And
if the payoff is you're better next year, awesome. And then you keep growing on that. Ultimately, what happened today doesn't change the fact that they don't have a good enough farm system. They need way more picks. They need way more kids. They need to turn over their defense. All of that is factual. But you're not going to do it all in one offseason. And ultimately they have two roads they can go down. I guess the one you're promoting is you got to get rid of everybody and you got to blow it up and plan for 5 years from now. And that might be the road they should take. I'm not saying it won't be. In 5 years we may look back on it and say they should have done that. The other one is don't blow it up. Figure out which players you want to keep, which ones you feel you've got to acquire, hire the right people, and try to build moving forward.
Okay.
And
I'm
whether
just telling
that
you,
leads
your
to
plan,
80 points or 100 next year, I don't know.
I'm just telling you the danger of saying with the question marks ahead with Austin Matthews, if you want to crawl into the playoffs and get slaughtered in the first round, then the contract runs out or he asks out and then you get nothing left for him. The only time to replenish everything would be now. If you wait, good luck with that.
Sure. But I don't know if those, is the Matthews future linked to the news today?
I have no idea. I have no idea I don't talk to Judd Moldiver or Austin Matthews. I do not know his plans.
But I guess what I'm saying is whether he's going to stay or not in 2 years.
Yeah.
Is it a matter if Berube's back next year or not?
I'll tell you one thing. If I was dealing with that situation, I would say we're giving you a month. And by the draft, or before the draft, we need to know what your intentions are because we're not going to sit and wait and try to make all these transactions to impress you or whatever it is you feel that's needed. We're not doing that. We got a business and a team to run here. We want to know the deal. What's the deal?
I don't think you have – if you're John Chaika, you can't build this team for Austin Matthews. You build it for John Chaika and the Toronto Maple Leafs. And if Austin Matthews is a part of it, great. If he's not – then you move on from him. It should be a scenario where you're trying to build a program that wins and give yourself a window of 10 years. And that's the thing. So today, today,
you know what your name is? It's not Keith Pelly. It's Keith Smelly. Go ahead, Keith Smelly. Go to commercial.
Let's go to commercial. Let's pick it up on the other end because I still have more thoughts on this.
Okay, and I
need to hear this piss
I'll
story,
tell you
too.
the story of what I saw.
I wish the guy Keith Smelly.
Second grade.
Yeah.
This guy's literally name calling.
Yeah, you're Keith Smelly.
All right.
That's you.
What could I put on? I got to come up with a name for
I'm rubber, your glue.
You can't come
what
back.
bounces off of me
leaker.
sticks to you, right?
Side
I'm rubber, your
side
glue.
Of the road.
Keith Smelly. P-U.